In this video, we want to talk about this fjord in the northeast of Iceland. The reason why we focus our attention on it is because it represents a broader global challenge. While Iceland as a whole is experiencing the negative effects of climate change stronger than many other nations, this specific region actually aims to profit from the changing climate. Iceland is a volcanic island in the northern part of the Atlantic Ocean. It is located on the mid-Atlantic ridge and has a unique landscape due to that. Many tourists visit Iceland because of the famous volcanoes, geysers, and glaciers. Especially in the last decade, Iceland has experienced an almost unprecedented increase in tourism. In 2018, around 2.3 million people visited the island. An impressive number, especially considering that Iceland itself has a population of only 360,000 people. About 130,000 of them live in the capital Reykjavik, which corresponds to a good third of the population. Since Iceland is a country with very few natural resources, traditionally the Icelandic economy is heavily influenced by the fishing industry, which accounted for about 27% of the country's gross domestic product in 2011. Yet, in the meantime, tourism has replaced fishing as the largest pillar of the Icelandic economy. And the growing tourism came at a good time for Iceland, as the country was hit hard by the global economic crisis in 2008. However, this development also leads to an imbalance. While certain regions benefit and Reykjavik is growing, there is a population decline in regions dominated by fisheries. This brings us to the northeast of the country. Tourism has not really picked up in these regions. Almost all international flights land in the south at Keflavik International Airport near Reykjavik, and the popular round trips around the island do not reach this northeastern region. Fishing remains the largest industry here. However, this has declined sharply in recent decades, leading to less jobs. These figures may give the impression that the fishing industry is in crisis. It is important to mention, however, that, in a way, these numbers represent the way out of a crisis. So let's take a closer look at this decline. In the early 1950s, the Icelandic government saw a threat to fish populations due to increased activity by foreign trawlers. In two stages, the Icelandic government extended the country's exclusive economic zone, which prohibits foreign boats from fishing. This led to the so-called First Cod War. Iceland is part of NATO, but all other NATO members opposed their decision to extend the exclusive zone. And the United Kingdom even went so far as to deploy ships of the Royal Navy to escort British trawlers. Iceland continued to expand its exclusive economic zone in the following years, which led to further tensions. Eventually, however, the Icelandic government prevailed against its NATO partners. Iceland knew how to strategically use its geographical location during the Cold War. In the country, there were 2 radar stations as well as a United States military base. So Iceland threatened to abandon NATO if its exclusive economic zone wasn't granted, which resulted in the other NATO members backing off. Despite the exclusive zone, however, fish stocks declined, especially the herring, whose catch was temporarily banned by the Icelandic government. Gradually, the government introduced special fishing quotas, which were translated into a single ITQ system in 1990. These quotas are transferable licenses entitling fishermen to catch a certain amount of fish. The amount of licenses handed out depends on the fish stocks. While this system drastically reduced the size of the fishing industry, it also led to the industry stabilization. Really, what is managed here is the relationship between economic and ecologic sustainability, and that's where it really connects to the problems of today. In recent years, climate change is leading to a new shift in fish stocks around the island. The warming of the oceans pushes populations of fish to the north. The country experiences the effects of climate change in many ways. The huge glaciers that make up a large part of the island are melting. In August of this year, a funeral ceremony of a glacier was held in the west of the country, the first glacier that no longer exists due to climate change. Much is being done in Iceland to improve the country's eco-balance. It is an international pioneer in the use of geothermal heat. Around 85% of the country's total energy consumption is provided by geothermal and hydropower. And since 2017, the government has been led by environmentalist Katrin Jakobsdottir, who is investing $55 million in reforestation, eco-friendly transportation, and land conservation efforts over a 5-year period. At the same time, tourism, the largest economic sector of Iceland, releases large amounts of greenhouse gases. And in some ways, Iceland is even trying to benefit from the upcoming changes due to global warming. This brings us to the northeast, which we have already brought to the center of our attention for exactly this reason. From 2021 onwards, here at Finna Fjord, the construction of a large container port will begin, which is supposed to turn Iceland into a new hub for international merchant shipping. The fjord is well suited because the water is deep and the land around it is flat. In addition to the port, an industrial park is planned where goods and resources, for example from the Arctic, can be processed and further shipped. The port is based on the assumption that the main shipping routes will change due to the melting ice caps. The current main shipping route connecting Europe and Asia passes Singapore, the Indian Ocean, and through the Suez Canal. Due to climate change, however, the Northern Sea route might become an alternative for this. The travel time on this northern route is about 9,000 kilometers, or roughly 5,600 miles shorter than the existing route. Although this route is currently only passable for a few months of the year, this time window is increasing. Already in 2017, the first ship without icebreakers took the Northern Sea route, and the likelihood of this becoming a major trading route is high due to the melting ice caps. This time-lapse shows the reduction of old Arctic sea ice, which is essential in binding new ice in the pole region. It is only a single port project, but it is representative of a reality that could become an ever-increasing challenge. Namely, that climate change, when viewed solely through a business perspective, can appear to create new opportunities, like new trade routes or access to new resources that previously weren't accessible, such as large oil reserves in the Arctic North. Yet this ignores the need for a sustainable economy and even further adds to the greenhouse emissions. So Iceland's goal to profit from its location and at the same time find ways to create an eco-friendly, sustainable economy is a challenge that also faces the global economy.